We are 4 weeks after the hurricane, and the Minister of Finance is yet to come to the Parliament and tell us how much money we have, how the funds are going to be used. And every other minister can speak, can say many things, but if the Ministry of Finance cannot speak, right? So my question, Minister, do you believe 150 can cover the full restoration in the time?
Patriotic comrades, I am in total agreement with what Comrade Julian Robinson just said. Everything about this Holness administration and the finance ministry, everything just shrouded in mystery and in shadows. What happened to all of the money that was donated, all of the money that was collected? Why aren't we made aware of, say, oh, we have this amount of money on hand where we can spend now? Me now get the humanitarian vibes from the Jamaica Labour Party. They just no care. Me now feel no love and compassion from the JLP, no empathy from the JLP towards the people who are suffer on a daily basis. And this is totally unacceptable, and this is just incompetence at the highest level. And the whole mess administration is an incompetent government. Then just need to step aside at this point.
So our 20%, if you're looking at us as a shareholder, our 20% would be 70 million. But we are actually taking the risk of lending an unsecured loan to JPS of 150 million, which is twice the proportion of the equity that we hold in the business. So unsecured, you don't have any collateral to seize. You're relying on a mechanism to get it back, which I'm going to speak to in a second. So,
Comrade Leader Mark Golding just made an excellent point, which is Jamaica own 20% in JPS. So that 20% shares would be equivalent to $70 million US. That for be our part what we supposed to pay towards that US $350 million. Zin? So the other 80% share is split in half between two overseas based foreign entities. So one have 40%, the next one have 40%, which means both of them would put up $140 million US each, because them own 40% shares. Because there's no way the government should jump from $70 million US for you put up $150 million US. You basically put up more than the people them who own 40% shares in JPS. You pay more than the private people them who own JPS. That no make no sense. With an extra 10 million pound top, because a 150 million US we have foot the bill. We not sure if JPS are gonna come up with the remaining 200 million US. We not sure. All know we don't know if they secured that the funding they get from any private bank on their end. And them say this US $150 million is from the consolidated funds, meaning a taxpayer's money. Somehow this throw me off, because we also received from the World Bank insurance money, the catastrophic bond insurance scheme we have with the World Bank. World Bank give away full payout of US $150 million. So patriotic comrades, where that their money they there, because I hear them talk about that. Them a give we the impression or a mislead we if you think say this US $150 million where they in the consolidated funds is a different money. And this is where the transparency no exists, no clarity no there so. It's just you left up in a year for we interpret it, or it too ambiguous. Is it the case that them take that insurance money and put it in the consolidated funds? If that's the case, tell we make we know. Because right now the government, Darrell Vaz and Holness, them basically mislead the country cause no transparency. Where is that US $150 million insurance money we get from the World Bank? Is it a case that we not get the money yet? And if not, why the World Bank are hold on for the money for so long? And I don't think the World Bank would hold on the money so long, because it's an emergency, category 5 disaster. So the money would release immediately. So the government can get it for spend and do aid relief and for repair roof and all them things there. So no transparency. That's why I said this whole mess administration, they are just incompetent. I'm glad Comrade Leader Mark Golding exposed the fact say Jamaica only own 20% in a JPS, so we should only appear $70 million US. So that remaining $280 million would have split in a two down the middle, where both shareholders would have come up with US $140 million each. And if it wasn't for Comrade Leader Mark Golding, we wouldn't know about that. We would be left in the dark, because this incompetent government is not about transparency.
My question to you is, first of all, the other 200 million, which is currently not funded, but which is necessary to achieve the timelines that you have indicated for restoration, what is the assurance that that 200 million will be raised on a timely basis so as to enable the necessary expenditures to be made by JPS to hit the targets, which are presumably fairly aggressive targets given the extent of the damage to the grid and so on? What level of confidence do you have that that 200 million will be raised by them? And what is the time frame that it has to be raised by for that target to be met? I'd like to know the time frame for that. Secondly, would we be disbursing all 150 before that 200 million is in place? Are we going to take the risk of lending that money to JPS, funded out of the consolidated fund you've said? I was going to ask you how it's going to be funded. That's roughly the same amount as the cat bond drawdown, we're told. This 150, which Jamaica has been seeing as being critical to the housing, shelter, the school fixing up, the health centers and hospitals, etc. JPS is now going to get the benefit of that money. I want to know whether we're going to take that risk and disburse those funds to JPS until the damage fund is fully funded. As it stands now, all you've told us is you've left it up to them and they're to come back to you. That, I think, is a risk we're not prepared to take as a country. I want to know which GOJ entity is going to carry the loan. So is it DBJ? You know, which entity is going to be the lender of record? Because part of what you've said is a mechanism that assures repayment, you've said, is that if at the end of July 2027, there is no renewal of the license because you can't agree terms, and you're acquiring the assets of JPS, you're saying that 150 would be a set-off, essentially. That's what I read you to be saying, that you would recover the 150, it would go in reduction of what you would have to pay them to acquire the assets. So set-off requires mutuality, meaning that the person who owes you is the same person you owe. So I want to know which entity within the government is going to carry that loan to the JPS. You said the interest rate is not yet settled, and the Ministry of Finance is going to deal with that hopefully tomorrow. I'm hoping that we will get a report on what that is, because this is coming out of the nation's available liquidity. And when there are a whole lot of needs to be met. So I think it's necessary for us to do what is necessary to get JPS up and running as quickly as possible. But I think we have to do it very prudently and sensibly so that we don't unnecessarily expose taxpayers to loss. So I would like your assurance, Minister, that that 200 million will be coughed up by JPS, perhaps by its two large overseas shareholders, Marubeni and East West Power, Korean government, South Korean government-owned large utility. Or JPS is going to draw down on whatever funding it can raise from its creditors. I don't know how they plan to fund it, but we need to know it's funded before we put our 150 in. That's the last question I have, because I'm asking questions, is in all of this that we're discussing now, to get things back up and running as quickly as possible, which is the main imperative we're all aligned around. We've also had talk over the last year or so since Beryl about building resilience into our distribution and transmission systems for electricity. And there's been talk about putting wiring underground, and that the cost of that is very high. And in fact, the CEO of JPS has said it'd be prohibitive. But what I want to know is what practical steps are being taken to build resilience into the grid now for those sections which have to be rebuilt. And is that a consideration at all? And if it is, what are the things that you intend to do to make sure that the grid is more resilient to withstand weather events, maybe not as drastic as Melissa, but weather events that we know sooner or later, hopefully much later, we're going to have to endure again. So that's my third question. So I'll summarize. One is the timeline for JPS to fund the 200 million gap, and whether you would ensure that that funding is in place before you expose our $150 million. Which GOJ entity is going to carry the loan, this $150 million loan that will be made to JPS, and what, if anything, is being done to build greater resilience into the grid in those areas where the grid is being substantially rebuilt. Thank you.
Should we have lent JPS that US $150 million in the first place? That is our tax money, we're supposed to spend on make sure so everybody get back a roof over their head. So how you gonna give me light and me not have nowhere to live? Make that make sense. This government is moving backwards. As I said, they're incompetent anyway. And another key thing to note is, and a bigger question when me want to ask, what if JPS no pay back a loan? What if they forfeit and become delinquent with the loan and no pay back? What happened then? More questions than answers. So JPS had a license with 2 years left on the license. And as we know, Daryl Vaz had come out and say they are not going to renew the license of JPS. Meaning them are going to seek new people to come in and own JPS. Zin? But clearly, based on how things are play out now in real time and in real life, me not think them did negotiate the terms and conditions within that agreement where they have with these overseas partners who own JPS. Because we taxpayers end up having to foot the bill with our US $150 million. So clearly we can say Vaz and the government never negotiated a good contract. Because first, you're supposed to ensure, say, these people can secure funding in the case of a natural disaster. Because now you end up rob taxpayers of US $150 million. We're supposed to build back your roof and make sure that people have back somewhere to live before Christmas. So Christmas will come and a whole heap of people still are going left out in the wilderness. You live in a hurricane prone zone, so you don't know, so you have to negotiate with JPS and say, hey, me are going to need to ensure so you can secure private funding from private banks. Just in case there's a natural disaster, you know where you're going to get. For example, if you need US $500 million or US $350 million, whichever the figure is, you know where you're going to secure that funding from, because me, the government, me can't foot that the bill there for you. Because we only own 20%. Then, it is that simple. But here's the thing. JPS wanted to extend the lease, which would allow them to secure the additional funding where them need. In other words, the government extending the lease, JPS could have go out and go seek that $500 million and secure the funding from private lenders or private banks. And we would not need to foot this bill of US $150 million. This money could have actually get to spend on where it's supposed to spend on, which is the people that we need back their roof and housing. This could have able to do that comfortably. But the government tell JPS, say, no, we not do that. We not go do it so. We not extend no lease. We are going to give you this US $150 million of the taxpayers' money. And when your lease expires in 2 years' time, that's it. So the government never have to take our tax dollars and give it to JPS in the first place. This US $150 million. They never have to do it. JPS did one. They extend a license so they can go secure the funding. This incompetent Holness administration chose not to. But what wanna expect from a PR government? Them only do things for optics and PR. Them do this to make it look like, so, oh, see the government a help, see the government a work. So we give JPS $150 million US, so we can't get back light. That is PR. That's not good governance. Good governance would extend JPS license or renew their license so they can go secure the funding and actually take the US $150 million and spend it on the taxpayers of Jamaica, who now have nowhere to live because they lose everything in the hurricane. Patriotic comrades, me I go play a video from Comrade Ian Hills. You see me? And basically, he shows the Ministry of Labour and National Security distribute food in Western Westmoreland, where Comrade Ian Hills is the Member of Parliament, elected Member of Parliament for Western Westmoreland, and he was not informed by Colonel Charles Jr.
That's how the Ministry of Labour and Social Security distribute food in Western Westmoreland. They find the JLP areas and they distribute food in the name of the government. Now look at this. Look at this. This is the Ministry of Labour and Social Security in Western Westmoreland distributing food. The Member of Parliament knows nothing about it. You see the level of partisan politics that the JLP is playing as we speak? Look for yourself. Look for yourself, Jamaica. Look for yourself. Look for yourself. And they talk about good governance. Look for yourself. Government vehicle distributing food to only Jamaica Labour Party supporters.
Now the question I may ask is, when will this type of foolishness stop? You see, we see PM Holness say all the right things in the media and when the camera record, but they do not act on what they say in real life. So it would seem that working together is not part of the government's vision for Jamaica, obviously. We can't emphasize this enough. It is not time for us to be sowing seeds of segregation. Stop playing with people's reality. Every Jamaican deserves food relief package. So there is no place for political preference. That should never be a determining factor whether you get help or not. That's all it boils down to. Them keep playing politics with the relief aid. And with all videos like them, you will never see mainstream media call out the Holness administration and question them panny and challenge them panny. I'm glad Comrade Ian Hills record that video and put it up. Patriotic comrades, none spent. Government says UTPEM relief funds untouched as procurement plan still in development. Still in development. Why is the procurement plan still in development? You see, this is the problem now with this article immediately as I start reading. Too much red tape and blue tape bureaucracy will slow up the relief aid process. Because meanwhile, let me try to figure out the procurement plan. Jamaicans are literally suffering. They're literally their ground zero because they must start from zero. They lose everything. So meanwhile, the director of UTPEM, General Commander Alvin Gale, I try figure out and I try develop a procurement plan. We have people in Western Jamaica when I know where their next meal come from. where they're not sure if no relief aid are gonna come tomorrow. I don't think this whole mess administration actually understands the gravity of the situation. I'll know, because for one, they have been very inefficient. Their response has been very slow and inadequate. The government has confirmed that US $1.68 million and 635 million Jamaican dollars have been donated to Hurricane Melissa relief accounts controlled by the Office of Disaster Preparedness and Emergency Management, ODPEM. But said none of the money has been spent so far. Why una stay down pan the money? Una that clueless, una that incompetent, that una no know where to do or where to start from? Look how much money una have a sit down pan. You see, these people have the luxury to sit in their ivory towers under AC in a their office, in a their comfortable chair, and a procrastinate and a walk up and down every day like a chicken with their head cut off and their hand in their pocket. Clueless where to do. Imagine Holness say ADPEM no up to pardon. Zin? So boom, then get new Director General Commander Alvin Gale, and this man don't seem to know in right from in left. This man come across as very incompetent. How qualified is Alvin Gale for Director General position at ODPEM? What's his qualification for that role? Because so far come like he don't know what I do either. It's like then just fling him in a position because Lincoln, you know how a link thing work in Jamaica. So probably a links get him in there. Allegedly, me don't know. But so far this man seem very incompetent. All them do a keep press conference. Press conference are PR. If you make it look like say, oh, them a do things and them a be transparent and a keep the country informed. But at the same time, when you do this, you just expose how incompetent the Holness administration is and how this new Alvin Gale, where lead ODPEM, is also incompetent. So basically, I lead blind at this point. This disclosure was made at post-cabinet press briefing at Jamaica House, where ODPEM Director General Commander Alvin Gale said procurement plans for the accounts are now being developed again, basically 5 weeks after the hurricane. And them must say plans for the money within the accounts are now being developed. What the hell that's supposed to mean to the person who live out a door? What that's supposed to mean to the people in Western Westmoreland or Eastern Westmoreland? Remember say Eastern Westmoreland was basically ground zero, in Comrade Dayton Campbell's constituency. What that's supposed to mean to them? How them supposed to interpret? You are try figure out things. It's like this man get appointed and he might get on the job training. Meanwhile, he might try figure out how his position, what's his role and functions actually work on the job training. This man, Alvin Gale, come like he still a try finding footing. He don't know when left and he right. Gross incompetence. That's my opinion. Patriotic comrades, this is what I want to know. US supposed to donate $20 million US in cash. England supposed to donate 2.5 million pounds. Them there will make you remember off the top of my head. Zin, where all of them the money they there. There is no transparency and clarity with all of the money where they receive so far. I'll know the finance minister don't come and tell us, alright, so far we have collected 1.8 billion US dollars. So far we have collected in donations of 1.8 billion Jamaican dollars. There is no transparency with the amount of money what we collect so far and have in our possession to spend on hand from the finance minister, from Favour Williams. No transparency, no clarity. What kind of clown and circus show this? What kind of upside down world this we live in? And with all of them the money they were in collect, you are telling me say you can only manage to give someone like a Comrade Dayton Campbell, whose constituency of Eastern Westmoreland was ground zero where the eye of the hurricane land on Jamaican soil. And you're going to look upon a man like that and give him $10 million and una collect so much money. The whole mess administration basically act like money a feed them, because they not give no transparency on how much money they collect so far. Why the secrecy? Is a little transparency too much to ask? We just want to know how much money we collect, what we want to spend so far, what we want to spend it on. We want all of the receipts basically. This is why me have to call them a PR government. And me glad when we keep a press conference on Tuesday, it was also highlighted by a fellow comrade say, I be a public relations the Jamaica Labour Party do. Me glad that they call it out. Me glad they identify it as well, because I've been saying they are a PR government. They don't have no substance. I mean, I stop repeat it till it sink in a people's minds and people get it, say, oh, it's a PR government we actually a deal with. And that can't work. PR can't run country. So far, all this whole mess administration have been doing is playing politics with this catastrophic disaster. Then basically, I use this for campaign for the next general election. They are being very partisan. They are being very divisive. And that is why I love when Comrade Mark Jefferson Golding, one Marky G, called them out and say, yo, the government is failing to include the opposition in the National Recovery Plan. Bro, if you did include the opposition, you would actually shine. You would look like the star student in a class, Holness, if you did include Marky G and the other comrades them. If you include with Holness, you would look like a star student, because guess what, we're going to give you all of the ideas them you don't have. Because you don't have no ideas. No bright people, no inner JLP. I'll know this whole mess administration no activate a swift response to the housing crisis. But then we kill it with PR for now till the morning. Information Minister Dr. Dana Morris Dixon confirmed that none of the money collected through donations has been spent as yet. So here we have another doctor in the JLP. So much doctorate but so much incompetence. Make that make sense. So much doctorate in the JLP. Where I tell me say, uno bright till uno dunce, uno bright till uno fool, uno bright till uno turn idiot. Make it make sense, cause me I try to figure it out, you know. All of a sudden, Dana Morris have a doctorate on her name. They are obsessed with titles, but when it comes to governance or any form of good governance, they are very incompetent. Obsessed with titles. Because it make you feel like them are somebody. It make you feel like them better than 99% of Jamaicans. But we were in at the 99%. We still look around like dunce. Because uno don't live up to the expectations of where would I expect to see from people who claim to them bright. I mean, meanwhile, local government minister Desmond McKenzie asserted that the current disaster relief structure does not allow ODPEM to engage with the political directorate, following concerns raised by some members of parliament in affected constituencies that they are being left out of the aid process. So Desmond McKenzie expect we to believe say ODPEM is not run and controlled by the government when ODPEM is literally under the office of the Prime Minister. And for that very reason we are complaining, because aid and relief only go to JLP constituencies. This is very political and partisan on behalf of the government. Every decision where ODPEM make is a political decision when it comes to relief aid, because ODPEM is no longer an independent body. It is under the office of the Prime Minister. But I think history will judge who the real humanitarians are. Darrell Vaz claims say we wicked and we evil and we bad mind because he want give people light before they get house for living in, which is a backwards approach by the JLP. I think you should make sure so the people them get back their house, then you worry about the light. To me, that's a no-brainer. I think Darrell Vaz need to look in the mirror, because him one of them over the JLP when a bright either. So I think somebody need to hold up a mirror and look, make him look nice to them and say, who evil? Patriotic comrades so far, me no see no empathy or no humanity. Me no see no love or no care towards the most affected Jamaicans. Me not see no humanitarianism I come from the JLP to the most affected Jamaicans. Me just not see it. Me not see no empathy and love I come from the Jamaica Labour Party towards these people. All know me not see Prime Minister walk through the communities them, you know. Me not see it. Me not see no footage surface yet. Remember, you know, Holness come out and say international communities thank me for do a good job. Oh my effing God. Don't ever cause bad word. Doing a good job at doing nothing. What you mean you do? Which good job? International people will come here and go come here for one day and fly out back the next day. We live here. We are on the ground. We are tell us say you not do nothing. We see Asafa donate 2 container house free of cost, courtesy of his donors, the people donate to his charity, and then buy 2 container and get 2 individuals free of cost. They never charge them feet and they never sell them, which is the humanitarian thing to do. So we see people we are work, literally, physically. We see people we are do things. Holness want to sell the people in the container house them through NHT, which no make no sense to me. I have never agreed with that, never. And there are the JLP supporters. We are going to hear PM Holness say international people say he might do a good job and they will believe him, because in politics perception is reality. So if you as a JLP supporter buy into that false sense of reality that is uttered by the Prime Minister, then you end up become delusional, because that is not the lived experience of the people them will literally suffer in the most affected parishes. Them cannot relate to the good job what the Prime Minister talk about. You see, every time Holness them speak, me strongly believe say them a cast spells with them words. A witchcraft them a work every time they come on the camera and speak. Cause once that lodge in a then cult following, as me say in politics perception is reality, then run with it and say yes, the Prime Minister work what? Work doing what? Sit down and interview Ramesh and I thank Ramesh for doing a good job under AC, flying out to Africa, to South Africa for 5 days. Holness talk out of him mouth on camera in Parliament when he come back and say they were contemplating say enough he go. He talk out of his own mouth. I wonder if he go or enough he go, because they know the optics did I go look bad. So them people are not idiot. They know it not look good. But because they don't care and they don't give a flying F, he still take up himself and go to South Africa, because he literally doesn't care. And we would have called out Holness the moment to find out and fly out. And me I tell him say, yo, your optics don't look good. You abandon your country. You abandon you when we needed you the most. And he come back and admit and confess say they were contemplating not to go. That Holness say. And then they end up deciding say, all right, here we'll go to South Africa and done.